What is up, Waffle Gang? My name is Mark, and today we're covering some more r/am I the butthole. If you'd like to skip that initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below, but if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, hitting that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. Yesterday over on YouTube, we had two new members. We had Huntress Wayne and Sierra Biagas. Did I get that name right? Biagas. I'm so sorry if I butchered that completely. But thank you so much for your support. It really does mean the world to me. And for everyone for taking the times out of your days to be here, the re-supporters, just everything. It's just absolutely crazy to me. So thank you so much. And with that being said, let's get in to today's stories. Much love, guys. And our first story comes from Can't Think of a Name. Am I the arsehole for not trying to reunite my daughters? I have two daughters, Kay 26 and Layla 22. As a single mum, I tried my best for both of them, but Layla, while I love her, makes it very hard to do so at times. She's always been attention seeking, stubborn and jealous. We did family therapy and individual therapy for years after her dad passed away, when she was 9, but something snapped in her. Am I the arsehole part? When Kay was 22, Layla 18 at the time, she had a boyfriend, Mick 20. He seemed nice. Unfortunately, Layla needed all of his attention. It was constant. He'd be over at our house on the couch watching a movie with Kay, and Layla had to be right next to him. When they went out, Layla chucked the fit if they didn't invite her. She messaged him constantly. She even went to his soccer games, skipping work at her job when she hadn't seen him in a while, sending him pictures of herself, crying when I would ask her to get out of Kay's bedroom when they wanted to be alone. I tried to put my foot down when Kay complained. I had a talk with Layla about boundaries and managing jealousy and how we should go back to therapy. She didn't want to listen and she was cold. She started getting more secretive and Mick started withdrawing. It was then I walked in on them on the couch when I got home from work. I'll be real, I was not calm. I screamed. The whole neighbourhood could probably hear. I banned him from the house. I threw her clothes at her and told her to get to her room. I called Kay and asked her to come home. Mick must have gotten to her before me. She came home a mess. It was one of the worst days of my life after losing my husband, honestly. My daughter was devastated and it was my other daughter that did it. Once Kay calmed down, she asked me to take her to my mum's house and I did. When I got back, I went to talk to Layla. She was sobbing, saying I ruined everything, that I hated her, that I was always ruining her life, that we were meant to be together. I held her, despite wanting to scream some sense into her. When the dust settled, we talked. She fought any sort of blame, accusing her sister of abusing Mick, of Kay keeping them apart. As gently as possible, I told her that while Mick is awful, what she did is also terrible. She needed to apologise. She refused. That's not even the half of it, but the relationship has been strained for the past few years. Kay moved on and I am close with Kay and her husband. I'm careful to never talk about Layla and to be respectful of Kay's boundaries. Layla, however, begs for information about Kay, wants me to tell her everything, whines about how it was in the past, how she needs to get over it. I'm kind of... I just told her, what do you expect? You never apologised. What you did was wrong. I love you, but I'm not the one to rebuild this relationship anymore. You are not kids. She didn't like that, and while I feel I'm respecting Kay's boundaries, even my mum says I need to try harder to reunite them. So, am I the arsehole? Edit for clarification on a few things. Kay asked to go to her grandmother's after what happened. She couldn't be in the same house as her sister. I couldn't move Layla because she was locked up in her room, so Kay decided she needed to leave. This was in no way me dropping her off to comfort Layla. I got home at 1 PM to find them, and after Kay had come home soon after and I'd calmed her down, she asked to spend some time at grandma's and I said yes. I was with her till 2 AM the next morning, till she fell asleep between my mother and I. I left to go home. I checked on Layla and I know I might be an arsehole, but she is my child too. She, despite getting herself into this mess, was incredibly distressed. Maybe I was too gentle with her. Maybe I should have yelled or gotten more angry, but in hindsight, I don't regret the decision to be there for both of my daughters. When I looked at Kay, I saw her heart break and betrayal, and when I saw Layla, I was very scared. I saw a very scared, broken person. Kay made the decision to stay at her grandmother's. She did it for a little while, then I helped her move to her own place. I visited almost every day. I went for dinners at her house, we had sleepovers, I went to doctor's appointments with her. We started doing pottery together. I tried really hard to be good for her. Layla has not been out of therapy for more than a few months since she was 10. Her diagnosis has always been unclear, but she does suffer from OCD, PTSD from her father's passing, and anger issues from when I last had anything to do with her therapy. Obviously she's an adult. If she's learned any more about her condition, she hasn't shared it. Layla moved out just before she turned 20. The year and a bit after what happened was very hard. Between trying to hold her accountable and not ruin what I had with Kay, it was difficult. And finally, I never claimed to be perfect. I suffered a lot with postnatal depression after both my girls, and while when Layla was younger, she did show signs of being harsh and unkind at times. I was working 2 jobs with a terminally ill husband. Maybe I didn't pay enough attention to her. Maybe therapy should have started sooner. I feel like there's so much I could do better, and I wish I had their dad with me to help us. But it was just me, and I did what felt right at the time. All in all, this has felt extremely cathartic, and I want to say thank you to everyone who cared to read and comment. I think it's time I talked to someone myself. You have all been wonderful. I personally, after reading this story, what a family dynamic, and it's just so sad to see this, that Layla is clearly suffering from something, from a father's passing, grief, PTSD, and OCD as it says, and maybe some other things. Just you could read and see the obsession that was going on within that story. And it's so incredibly sad that it's damaged a family like this. 2 sisters now don't talk to each other and have nothing to do with each other because of this. And I think Layla playing down what she's did in the situation isn't helping matters at all, saying she needs to get over it after what she'd done, and not accepting any blame for what she's done either. And I don't think OP can get in the middle of these two and actually try to reunite them, because I think it's just going to cause a bigger rift in the end, with one not accepting blame and the other thinks she is to blame, which she is to blame obviously. That's just not a good combo. So I can't say you're the arsehole at all in this story. It's just an incredibly sad one. But let's have a look at the comments below to see what they say. Bugger This says, definitely not the arsehole. It's hard to accept that when your children become adults, they have to sort out their own shit. But that's the reality of life. You did everything you could for Layla. You sound like a great mother, but you're absolutely right in that you have to allow her to go through the consequences of her own actions. If you try to get involved, you risk your relationship with both your daughters. A one-winged angel says, not the arsehole. Most time I read these types of stories on Reddit, the mother chooses to take the offending daughter's side, but you did the exact opposite. I applaud you for that. Stick to your guns and ignore your mother. If Layla continues her behaviour, I'd suggest going in low contact with her, because she's not worth losing your good relationship with Kay. Titus Soap says, not the arsehole, Layla's in denial. She needs more help than you, even as her mother, can give her. Kudos to you for trying so hard to be there for both of them. Please remember to be kind to yourself. Now, what do you guys think of this story? What would you do if you was OP in this situation? Bang their heads together, or just let them sort it out by themselves? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 1. And our next story is from a throwaway account. Am I the arsehole for saying I won't attend Christmas if my aunt and uncle will be there, resulting in them being uninvited? When I was 17, I got pregnant and my parents kicked me out. My aunt and uncle offered me their guest room, but after a few weeks they sat me down and said they wanted my baby. I then got a guilt trip of pro-life propaganda, mixed with telling me I couldn't take care of a kid, and that they let me live with them for free, and basically said I should give them my kid because of all of this. I said yes because I was worried they'd kick me out if I said no. I sat my A-levels, and when my student loan came through, I just left and went to my chosen uni a few hours away. I was about 7 months pregnant at the time. I tried to talk to them about it, but they wouldn't listen, so I wrote them a letter instead. By the time I arrived, I had tons of messages from them, upset with / mad at me for how I handled things. I got a job, gave birth, and ended up delaying uni, but I ultimately got my degree, and my daughter and I came out the other side of it. I went straight from uni to a career, all based in this town a few hours away from my hometown. In this time, I had in-person contact with my younger siblings, who have met my daughter, but this has only been a couple of times a year, and I have fairly regular phone calls with my grandparents, who have never met my daughter in person. I went back to my hometown once, 3 years ago, for my father's funeral, without my daughter, and I ended up getting into a drama with both my mother and my aunt / uncle. And I've not been back since, despite my siblings and grandparents encouraging me to come. My daughter is turning 7 this month. Nan said I have to come see them this Christmas. I hesitated, and Nan asked what the issue is. I explained I was worried I'd run into my mother, uncle or aunt. Nan said that mum hasn't been invited to Christmas since she kicked me out, and that if my aunt and uncle were an issue, she'd uninvite them too. And she wants to see both me and my daughter at Christmas. I said if that's how she feels, then I'll do my best for us to be there. However, in the few days since that phone call with Nan, all hell has broken loose. My aunt and uncle have contacted me and said that I'm being a petty, vindictive bitch for getting them uninvited from Christmas, and my cousin, their daughter, sides with them, saying that I'm being a cunt for being upset with them nearly 8 years later and using my daughter's status as the only great-grandchild and the only relative my grandparents have never met as a bargaining chip to get my way. My siblings are torn between feeling that I should be allowed to state my feelings and that it was Nan's choice to uninvite them, and saying that I could have just left it alone and trusted that if there was an issue, people would intervene before it got ugly, and that I should tell Nan to re-invite them and apologise to them for getting them temporarily booted. Am I the arsehole? And here we go, another completely messed up family, the mother and father kicking the daughter out because she got pregnant, and then the aunt and uncle taking her in and then pretty much demanding her baby because they're letting her live there. Absolutely crazy. And you're not the arsehole. You didn't uninvite them, your Nan did, and let's just say, for the wholesome Nan, absolutely wonderful person. She sounds like a great person, and you know, to just say that I want you and my great granddaughter there, and you know, sod anyone else. We just get rid of them. We get rid of those negative people, and I just want you guys round. It's just absolutely wonderful in my eyes. They didn't sound like there was any hesitation. No, let's try and make this work. If the aunt and uncle start, we're sorted out. There was none of that. There was like, all right, I'll just don't invite them. Sorted. But let's have a look at the comments below to see what they say. Distraction News Dora says, not the arsehole. It sounds like Nan suggested it, not you. If you don't feel comfortable around these people and your Nan knows that, she has every right to disinvite whoever she wants. Update. Can I come to Nan's for Christmas? Can we all come to Nan's for Christmas? Waffle gang rolling up. Singer96 says, not the arsehole. Honestly, it sounds like the only reason they gave you a place to stay was so they could essentially steal your child. They were trying to make it like you owed them and your daughter was payment. Good on you though. They and anyone who agrees with them are toxic. Koskani says, not the arsehole. Your aunt and uncle made their choice to be ugly. These are the consequences. It's not like you asked Nan to uninvite them. She clearly doesn't want them there either. I wouldn't sweat this if I were you. Royally Oki says, not the arsehole at all. First of all, good for you for pulling your life together and succeeding. Your Nan's desire to see her great-grandchild seems sincere, and I think all three of you get something meaningful out of the meeting. The negative responses and bad language of your aunt and uncle and cousin show that they're as horrible as you thought they were. Your concerns seem validated. Have a happy holiday. Can she be like the Nan of the channel, maybe? Can we get her on here? Anyway, what do you guys think of this story? What would you do if you was OP? Did Nan make the right decision, or should the aunt and uncle still be invited? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 2. And our next story comes from TA Wedding Craze. Am I the arsehole for telling my youngest daughter that I cannot give her away at her wedding? Long backstory, I have 2 daughters, Anna, elder, and Carly, younger, who are a year apart. Carly and Anna were close when they were younger but drifted apart in their teenage years. I think she started resenting Carly because Carly always seemed to do well, academically and socially. Anna decided to take loans and go to college she wasn't really a fan of. Carly got a full ride to Anna's dream college. Anna became very resentful after that. She was sure that Carly chose that college to rub it in Anna's face. I tried my best to accommodate them both. Anna refused to talk to Carly and didn't consent to any form of therapy. Carly refused to compromise as Anna kept being unreasonable. In the end, they both stopped talking to each other. Neither of them has ever asked me to choose between them, as long as I don't bring up the other or try to get them to reconcile. I have a good relationship with both of them. Now, Anna is a single mum with a 3-year-old kid, Alex, who has always been in between jobs and in debt. Me and my now wife help out when we can. She receives a bit of child support, but I have to admit that she is struggling. Carly, on the other hand, lives comfortably, has an incredible job, and is living with her long-term boyfriend. Recently, Carly announced that her boyfriend proposed and that she wants to plan a wedding in 2022. She asked me to walk her down the aisle, and I may have cried a bit. However, Anna found out, and then she came over to my house and had a breakdown about how she always thought she'd be the first to get married in the family, and she always wanted me to give her away first. I tried to console her, but she ended up getting angry and told me that I should refuse to give away Carly or have a father/daughter dance with her at the wedding. At first I refused, but she threatened to cut off all contact between her, Alex and us. If Alex wasn't in the picture, I would have cut Anna off. As things stand, I need to consider Alex's well-being. Carly is staunchly child-free, and it is very possible that Alex is going to be my only grandchild. Without my help, Alex's life is going to be much more harder, and I cannot abandon Alex with a good conscience. While I understood that Carly would be upset, Alex was a child and he is a priority. I spoke to Carly, explained the situation. I told her there was still time and I'd figure out a way to get Anna to change her mind. If not, I still promised her that I would still be very involved with her wedding, except those two things. Carly just laughed and told me not to bother with her anymore, and told me she wasn't going to invite me to her wedding. I definitely know that Anna is the arsehole for putting me in this position, but am I the arsehole for expecting Carly to be more understanding? It says in this story that you've never been asked to choose between them, but Anna's asking you to do just that. By not giving away your daughter at the wedding, you're playing to just what Anna wants. So what happens later down the line when Anna does get married? Are you going to give her away? Because you've missed that opportunity with your younger daughter. Anna in this story is being super manipulative, and in the very end when she says she'll cut off all contact between her, Alex and us, just shows what an absolute cow she's being in this story, I'm afraid. And you just can't let someone control you like that. If she wants to be like that, that's on her. If she wants to cut off contact, that's her choice. You know, I'm sure Alex will come to you at some point in his life, and she will too, because she's not, let's face it, she's not going to survive on her own. And I think you just need to set up some serious boundaries here and, you know, just tell her straight, because otherwise you're going to just get nowhere. Eden Gone Dark says, you're the arsehole, you're letting your daughter and her selfish wants win. You're not choosing Alex, you're choosing Anna over Carly. Shame on you. If I were you, I'd call Anna's bluff. She sounds like she's not going to do too hot in life. My guess is she'd go no contact for a week before realising she needs all the support she can get. Mibunu Kami says, you're the arsehole, holy shit you're the arsehole. Your oldest child has been an abusive monster to your younger daughter for the better part of her life, and as you've described it here, you've been complicit in it. The fact that you would even remotely entertain Anna's insane demand, grandchild or no, shows how unsupportive you've been. If you want any hope of keeping Carly in your life, tell Anna she's being ridiculous and you're not going to allow her to dictate the terms of your relationship with Carly. Jesus Christ, I can't believe you need someone to tell you this. Mook says, you're the arsehole 100%, and quotes, neither of them have asked me to choose between them. And then says, well, Anna just asked and you gave in to her immediately. You just chose your overly jealous daughter over what? The one who was more successful. Carly's being punished because she was better in school, more social, etc. How is that fair? And using your reasoning as Carly will never give you grandchildren, is that the price of love to you? It sounds like Anna has been throwing herself a pity party because she doesn't want to come to terms with the fact she is different than her sister. Not worse or better, but different, and you just validated her not coming to terms with that. I'm glad Carly uninvited you from the wedding. Who treats their daughter like that and still expects to be in their life? Now, what do you think of this situation? How should OP go forward with this? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 3. And our next story is from More Cat. Am I the arsehole for telling my stepmom to F off and that she's not allowed to parent me? I, 17 female, have a stepmom, 48 female, who married my dad around a year after my mum passed away, 3 years ago. When my mum died, my dad never left his room. He barely spoke to me except for the occasional good morning. He ended up losing his job. I had to clean, cook, and take on odd job mowing people's lawn or babysitting while in school. I tried to get him to go to therapy. He never spoke about my mum to me, and I didn't want to add to his burden. He and my stepmum started getting closer, and he seemed so happy. It was so nice. I never complained just because he started leaving his room, but our relationship was not quite as close as before. My stepmum and I never got along well. It may have been my fault because I was still mourning my mother and I didn't want another female parent figure around. It felt like they were trying to replace her. She didn't try to bond with me either, in my defense. The part that really hurt me was she didn't want me in the wedding party. She said I was a reminder of my mother and it would make my dad sad. She made me sit at the back when they walked down the aisle. I just felt lonely and I didn't feel like I had anyone. My dad started working again a few months after they got married, and I got into a really competitive high school on a scholarship, and now I have assignments and exams all the time. My stepmom never worked and she didn't really help around the house either. My dad was working throughout the day, so when I got home from school, I would have to clean, then do homework and cook dinner. My school isn't online now. My stepmother wanted to move to a different part of the US to be closer to her family, but I was scared to move during a pandemic because I have immunity issues and bad lungs. Premature baby. Luckily nothing happened and it's a temporary move, so everything's fine, but she didn't take my feelings into consideration. But now there's a time zone. I have to wake up at 5 AM to start classes. I still have to do work, study, clean the house and cook, do laundry. I'm not ungrateful, but it's just a lot, you know. I've been having to sleep late because of the amount of work I'm running on 4 to 5 hours a night. I started drinking coffee in the morning to wake up. I ran out of coffee this week, and when I was making my grocery list, I added it and gave it to her to add to whatever she needed. She told me I'm not allowed to have coffee, that I should sleep earlier because coffee is bad for me. I told her if she wanted me to sleep earlier, she could help around the house, and she said, I'm the adult here, I make the rules. This is where I may be the arsehole. I just started crying and I told her to fuck off. I told her she wasn't my mum, she will never be, and that I didn't want her around. I told her she can't just parent me whenever she feels like it. Her and my dad haven't spoken to me in like 3 days, and I'm going out of my mind. Should I just apologise? Am I the arsehole? I don't know, I'm starting to feel like I am. Hell no, you are not the arsehole. I can't believe you're in this situation where you're having to cook, clean, do your schoolwork too, and they're not talking to you, they're pretty much ignoring you. And the way they treated you at the wedding, making you sit at the back, absolutely fucking disgusting. Stop cooking for them, clean only your own areas, you know, and just, I'd cut them off as soon as possible. They sound horrible, horrible people, and I know your dad's going through a lot, and I totally get that, but so are you. You're going through the same emotions too. I know grief comes in all different ways and people react in different ways to it, but you're both still grieving. And for your mother-in-law to downplay that is just absolutely ridiculous. It just sounds like you're a slave in this house. It's absolutely, I don't know, I'm getting really wound up. I can feel myself tearing up. Right. Picachinto says, not the arsehole, she is such a piece of work. She obviously doesn't give a fuck about you if she made you sit in the back because it'll remind your dad of your mother. As if you aren't also mourning. She's been horrible to you and you absolutely should be able to drink coffee. Magetti says, not the arsehole, why are you cooking for these selfish, entitled people? If she wants to be a parental figure, then she needs to do the parental work. Also, your father is a selfish arsehole. Hopefully you can graduate and get away from them both as soon as possible. Also, if she wants to make the rules, you can just calmly say, okay, I'm going to bed early then, I won't be making dinner anymore, and leave it at that. Give her what she asks for. Mission Spray says, not the arsehole, your dad, however, agreed to not having you in the wedding because the new wife was essentially jealous of you. He's the arsehole, you should come first in his life. Stop cleaning other stuff, just be petty and only do your things. You're not their maid, they're grown adults and can take care of themselves. If they say anything, then ask, grown adults should be able to clean up after themselves. You're an adult, aren't you? Also, if you're not already, please get a therapist. Also, I hope you have money saved. Open your own bank account when you turn 18, so you can start looking for another place to live. Now, what do you guys make of this story? What should OP do in this situation? It's such a difficult situation to be in. Obviously, she's relying on them for a house over their head, but they're treating her like a goddamn slave. It's so... I hate it when kids are being treated like this. It's just so heartbreaking. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 4. Once again guys, thank you for being here today. I hope you did enjoy today's stories, and if you did, you know what to do. Hit that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. If you wait till the very end, we got a huge playlist of Am I the Butthole videos for you to enjoy if you haven't seen them all already. There's also some others like Old Entitled Parents and Pet Revenge Stories. There's a whole catalogue of videos back there for you to enjoy if you choose to do so. Once again, thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next one. Take care guys, much love.